thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We're thrilled to welcome you to our first panel of a series of Valpo at Work panels during the month of April. Tonight, we're joined by three professionals who have taken different paths, obviously, to get to their current roles. And they're going to tell you a little bit about their background, but I just want to introduce each by name and title and employer. First, Jeff Gilmore. He's Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President at Worthington Industries in Columbus, Ohio. Adeline Medina is Sales Finance Senior Analyst at PepsiCo in Chicago. And Zach Labar is Regional Fleet Sales Manager for the West and Southwest regions at Volvo Group, in Denver, Colorado. And they'll tell you a little bit more about their backgrounds as they go. But thank you for taking the time to join us. Feel free to use the chat box, students, to ask questions of the guests, please. We'll get through them throughout the program. We're not going to wait till the end to answer questions. We want this to be a dialogue, Q&A, back and forth. Panelists know they can kind of feed off each other a little bit, back and forth, as it seems appropriate. As I mentioned to the panelists, students, no topics are off limits. Feel free to ask questions about anything that's professional or maybe even of a personal nature as it relates to their career and their lives after Valpo. The program is being recorded, so you'll be able to replay it on the Career Center YouTube channel. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Musa Pinar, Marketing Professor over in the College of Business, and Musa is going to moderate tonight's session. Musa, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
I would like to welcome Jeff, Zach, and Adeline. Did I say correctly, Adeline?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. We're happy to have you guys here, and I teach sales class. And when I heard the sales panel, I said, "Oh, that's great." And would like for you tell us about yourself a little bit and your career path taking you to sales, and anything that you'd like to share with the students. Who'd like to start? Maybe start Jeff.
Yep, I'd be happy to. So just a little background, Jeff Gilmore, and I'm married to my wife, Erica, have 3 kids, 14, 12, and 7. And as mentioned, I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Worthington Industries, and we're headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. A little bit about my career path. First of all, graduated from Valparaiso University. And I think like many, students or young adults graduating, I had a sociology major and realized that is not the career I was going to pursue. And I wasn't quite certain where my passion was at that time. I was 22 years old. But what I did know is I was a competitive person. I liked helping. I liked interacting and getting to know people. And I was very interested in business. I think I always had somewhat of an entrepreneurial spirit. And as I started looking for opportunities, it just seemed that sales, inside sales or outside, were the best opportunities, or there were the most opportunities. So that's really what led me to sales. So I started off in inside sales with Worthington Industries, eventually progressed into outside sales or a territory manager position, moved into a regional manager position to director of our automotive sales. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this, I think, as the panel moves on, what commercial sales can expose you to. But I actually made a jump to operations, on to become a general manager, into a vice president of purchasing role for Worthington Industries and price risk management. And then ultimately became a president of Worthington Steel, on to president of Worthington Cylinders, and then into my current role. So I don't know if anybody counted, but there was a lot of moves along the way and a lot of different opportunities. But that's how I got into sales originally.
Adeline, why don't you share your, background and your career path?
All right, so I ended up going to DePaul University, so I'm not a Valpo grad, but following DePaul, I ended up at PepsiCo, where I took a finance role, and I've had various finance and accounting roles right now I'm not technically in a sales role, but I do partner and support sales in a sales finance role. And it's just a critical role in understanding the business because we're such a sales-oriented, sales-driven organization.
Okay, well, thank you. Zach, I had you in my 2 classes, one in person, one online when you were in Germany. And it's nice to see you. Tell us about your career path and other things that you can share with the students.
Thank you, Professor. So I'm Zach Labar. I work in sales currently. I'm the regional manager for the Southwest and the West and selling capital equipment to large companies. So a little bit about, I guess, my story is I started in the industry at Valparaiso University. I ended up taking an internship with Cummins Inc. Out of Columbus, Indiana. And I was down there for about a summer. And my path was a little bit different because I was planning on going to law school. The challenge that I had in coming out of undergrad, or the period that we were going through undergrad, was that we had to deal with an economic recession. So a lot of friends of mine were going to law school. A lot of people I knew were going into grad school to kind of further their education and put off working until the job market sort of recovered. So at that time, I had taken on a full-time role with Cummins because there just was that opportunity, and I figured might as well. And if I don't like it, then I'll move on into something else. But it was interesting because when I started, it was a supplier quality improvement engineering role. But as a part of that summer session that I had, I was actually visiting a supplier. And when I visited that supplier, we took them out to lunch. It was really like a face-to-face interaction type thing. And being a person that enjoys relationships and not being behind a computer all day, I decided that I would like to find a role into more of a customer interfacing type job. So long story short, got in with Cummins, worked at Cummins for about 4 years, have stayed in the industry, moved on to Allison Transmissions and moved out to the East Coast. And then from there, I had taken a role into product management, which had sent me abroad quite a bit. The company was based out of Virginia, but I was in and out of Germany and Portugal pretty extensively with our manufacturing facilities there. I then moved back to Cummins in a startup capacity. They had started a digital ventures company out of Indianapolis, and they asked me to support the East Coast sales division. So was with that company for about 1.5 years. And then the cyclical downturn of the business, the trucking business at the end of 2018, they decided to divest us. So I had ended up in 2019, just after the new year, joining the Valpo Group, working in national accounts. So calling on the largest customers from the Valpo Group in North America, some of the most notable ones being Amazon. So we were a part of the commercial team that got Amazon their first semis, which is a pretty interesting venture in its own. But I had recently taken on a new role in selling trucks for the Mack brand, which is a Volvo Group brand in the Southwest and West. So very exciting. I've moved a lot. I was in Nashville, Indianapolis, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Charlottesville, Virginia, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and now Denver, Colorado, to hopefully call home for a good period of time. So but that's a little bit about my story. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more. It's good to see Jeff here. Jeff, does Brandon McPherson happen to work for Worthington?
Yes.
He's a basketball player?
Yes. So Brandon obviously was a basketball player at Valparaiso. And a friend of his actually reached out directly to me, not Brandon, but I was connected with Brandon, and then I actually called his coach at the time, which was Bryce Drew.
Yep.
And asked about Brandon and what he thought. And he obviously had glowing remarks. So we did bring Brandon in, and he started out in inside sales, went through our training program, and he is doing an awesome job in outside sales right now.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I was a
great guy.
He's a great guy. Obviously, back in my college days, I got to know Brandon. I'm sure a lot of the panel knows Brandon just from his playing days under Bryce Drew. So I was just curious, but that's great to hear.
And you aren't you going to give Musa the full credit for you going into sales, though?
Well, he was teaching marketing at the time. So,
right.
The 2 classes I had for marketing were challenging classes, but my home was getting in front of customers and having that rapport and building that rapport. So and also being a competitive person, as you had mentioned. I mean, transitioning from being an athlete into something like sales is really a good fit. But what I've come to find out is there's many different roles within sales that, you can be a farmer, you can be a hunter, so it really just depends. But I could credit Professor Pinar for that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that you said. I mean, that you definitely get an opportunity, I think, in sales and more specifically outside sales or sales management. Is I also had the opportunity to move around a lot at a young age. I mean, I was in Indiana, Ohio, Mississippi, Iowa, Tennessee, and back to Ohio. And that was just a really fun, great experience early on to move around.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had the opportunity to move quite a bit, and see a lot. I mean, it is what it is, right? You can be home a lot, if you like the area that you live in. I lived out of a suitcase for many years. So sales isn't for everybody, it's for a certain, I guess, person that enjoys that type of thing. But as I've gotten more, I guess, senior in my roles and senior, through the, I guess, maturing to a point, I've really come to enjoy sales, especially in a COVID environment, because you don't realize how often you're home and how much life has changed, just having to sit behind a computer all day. It's kind of why I left doing those types of roles. So
Well said.
Jeff, when he was here, I wasn't teaching sales. There was a professor, Fred Langrer. He was teaching. Probably he was here, but you weren't a business major. He was teaching sales. He retired, and I used to teach sales when I was at St. Joseph's College down the road, 90s. And I just said I want to go into sales teaching area, and then in my sales class. Let me give you a little idea. We do a role playing videotaping. They have to watch their role play and critique themselves. So these are little things I have been doing in the sales class. But I'll let you guys share your sales experiences. Adeline, don't stay out there if you're not sales, but you can contribute. You can have an impact. I'm sure you have an impact on the salespeople for what you do.
Don't be shy to make sure everybody knows you make us smarter.
I wouldn't say smarter, just better choices.
There you go.
You guys can share your experiences in a way that some of the key things that you learn, you gain over the years as you change the sales jobs or move through the sales career. So students can get some of the skills, some of the challenges. I know I always read that rejection is a major thing in the sales area, overcoming that rejection things there. So anything that you have gained over the years, please share with the students. I'm sure they will benefit from that.
Well, I mean, for starters, I just think what I probably gained the most was just simply overall business acumen. As I look back over my career, I feel very fortunate that I started out in sales. And, in sales, you're dealing with the customer, and the customer is what drives the demand. So we'll always say the customer is the most important thing, but it's dealing with the customers on the front line where, of course you're trying to sell them a product, but you're also trying to differentiate. You're also trying to make sure that your delivery performance is good, quality is good. So the exposure that I got to a very young age to various departments within the company, I felt like I was getting kind of I'll call it a mini MBA on the spot. And because you're dealing with all those different issues, whether it's, again, inventory, operations, and should you add capacity or should you not? Is there a supply chain issue? And where is that? Is that within your organization, or is that somebody you're buying from raw materials? You're having to get involved and help your customer with all those problem solving. And so I think that certainly then set me up later to move into some of those other roles that I talked about and do it maybe more seamlessly. And then ultimately getting into a role where I was leading a P&L, which is what I aspired to do early on. So again, I'm gonna speak selfishly. I just felt like I don't see that many roles even today in the organization where I'm looking over everything, where you're going to get that much exposure to so many different departments early on.
Yeah, sales, in my opinion, it really is. It's a skill, and what you come to find is that coming out of college and trying to figure out your path. I had friends going to Wall Street. I had friends, go on to law school, go into business school right away, go to work in tech. There's not a lot of vanity that you can tell right around sales to begin with. It's not given the greatest name that's out there. But when you get into it and you realize, to Jeff's point, all the things that it teaches you, right? It teaches you to deal with customers that are very upset. There's not a lot of people that can deal with people yelling at you all day. And sometimes in sales, that's what you have to deal with. There's not a lot of people that can sometimes deal with the travel that might be involved in sales. And like I said, so it teaches you a lot of different skills. It really teaches you a way to at least manage your time and manage it effectively. And also, how to farm and how to hunt. I mean, it really is a well-rounded way to understand the business. And, as Jeff has done it, through his career, kind of moving up through, managing a P&L, seeing different parts of the business. I mean, it really gives you a fundamental understanding on what the business is there for, which is, providing products and services to customers. So I've enjoyed my career. It's been fantastic. I've had a lot of opportunity to meet a lot of really good people. And, at the level that I deal in sales now, you're dealing with complex buyers. So, I work with, Adeline's company, at least the parent company. I mean, you're dealing with some really senior, fantastic procurement folks that understand their business through and through. And the only way that you can sell to a business like that is you have to understand their business, you have to understand their needs, and then you have to obviously execute. And being a competitive person and being a good salesperson, that's what it's going to take to be successful. So, but when you deal with a lot of these larger companies and dealing with, the prospect of actually selling them a product or a service, you're dealing with some of the best in the world. I mean, Amazon, there's some that I've dealt with, PepsiCo, JB Hunt, Knight Swift. I mean, some of these are the largest companies in the world and keep the world going through transportation. So dealing with those complex buyers, really gives you a strong understanding of how the world works.
Angeline, let's hear about your career challenges, things you faced.
Yeah, so I just saw this question come in from Joe about, I feel like sales can have a bad rep sometimes, thinking of pushy car salesmen, and how did that affect your view of sales? And I definitely can relate to that, because I was very scared to go into this sales finance role. I was like, these salespeople are going to be so pushy, and, it's going to be really hard to work with them, and they're going to be very demanding and not care about my time or my calendar. And what I've seen, especially right now with like all these COVID trends and, running into the supply chain issues of people, filling up in March last year and taking all this Gatorade and running out of products and stuff like that. The salespeople just do a really good job at partnering with you, because we want the same thing, right? We want Gatorade to win. And then they also have the difficulty of going to the customer and talking through some of the pricing changes that we're going to implement and everything. So it's really definitely changed my perspective that I have with these salespeople. Like, I don't know how you guys do it all, but you are able to wear multiple hats and just get through everything. It's impressive.
And I saw that question as well. I think just in addition to what you're saying, and I thought that early on. I thought of the pushy, car salesman, to use the words from the question. And the fact is, that's just really not what business to business sales is. And that's what I've done. These customers have a need, and they want to see you, and they want to understand your solutions and, how that can address their needs. You're helping them with cost savings. And I think, good salespeople do the things that I just described. And more often than not, your customers see you as an extension of their business if you're managing that properly. So I think, again, there's that stereotype of pushiness, and certainly you're going to be working against competitors, but I really, found it very gratifying to provide a solution again, or some major cost savings initiative that truly was going to help that customer out. There's a lot more to it than just the push for the sale, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. I mean, I came out of it was my 6 months before I graduated. I got a job offer from Cummins as a sales guy, and I was looking at it and I'm like, man, am I going to be this greasy sales guy? I didn't have any idea at the time that again, there's not a lot of vanity behind it unless you actually know the industry and know the business to business sales. It's funny because I went to Professor Leclerc and Professor Stuck, and I said, hey, what do you think? I'm about to come out of undergrad, dealing with the worst economic recession that's hit since COVID. What do I do? Should I just go on to grad school, or should I really look at this offer? Because it's kind of, it's sales, it sounds kind of greasy. Am I selling watches, on a street corner? It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. But, they both had talked me off the ledge. They said, this is a fantastic company. Cummins is a large company out of Indiana. It's a great company, and it's business to business sales, as Jeff had mentioned. So it really sometimes comes off that way if you're not involved in the business or understand sales as much. But some of the best employees out there are sales guys, and they bring revenue for companies, and they're invaluable. So
I did see go ahead, Adeline. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that I think Zach pointed to this earlier, is the idea of you building a relationship. And I think it's important for salespeople to not look at them as like used car salesmen, or I forgot what he said, but as really like relationship
greasy
builders.
a few times.
I forgot what he said exactly. But
yeah, greasy salesman. That's a great point, because it's not transactional, right? I mean, my sales cycle, and probably Jeff's the same way, my sales cycle is a year long. You have to deal with these people for a year, because they're dealing with budgets, they're publicly traded companies. I mean, it's just the natural progression of the business. So, you're dealing with people, you're having relationships. And what I would say is that most people at that level in other companies aren't going to be dealing with a sleazy sales guy. They're going to be dealing with an actual professional that's trying to bring them a service or good that's going to benefit their business, or like Jeff had mentioned, that's going to save them money.
Zach, that is a great point. I mean, Adeline said the relationships, but you're right. This generally business to business, these are long sales cycles. So you're building relationships, you're building up trust, and often, quite frankly, long-term friendships out of these relationships. So.
Zach, how did you say you sold through Amazon? Tell us how we can sell a truck through Amazon.
We sold trucks to Amazon. Yeah, so Amazon decided to start their own trucking company, and they've realized that their need for their business, they can't contract out enough, for trucking around the country. On top of they have quality standards that they need to meet. So they had thought that they would just go ahead and start a business. So they're the largest startup trucking company on the planet. We sold them initially, I think, 600 or 700 semis. And then they bought another 500 from a competitor of ours, PACCAR. They had then channel shifted into doing natural gas motors due to the climate accord. They're going to move to being more carbon neutral. So they moved from diesel to natural gas, and now they're going to be moving into fully electric trucks. So we're lucky as a commercial team. I was working on the part side of the business when we had executed that with them. But they're probably going to be the largest trucking company in the world before long. But it's any idea of their volumes, they could literally use all of the volume of FedEx and all the volume of UPS and still need trucking companies to help support them. So.
I did see a question on, in a nutshell, how do you deal with reject? And did you have customers turn you away? And, of course, that's going to come with sales. And yes, I did experience, calling on customers, and initially they did not want to use our company, or they felt that they were comfortable with the supplier that they had. And, it's just dealing with that is remaining professional and respecting where they're at. But I think, I just always try to make a point of making it clear if things have changed, please, let me be the one that you reach out to have a conversation and see if we can help you. And often somebody does fall down, and that does create an opportunity. But, reject or no initially is going to be, part of the territory. But I think, Zach, we both mentioned it. That's where the competitiveness, I think you need to stay the course, and that's touching base, every 3 months or so. What it is not is stalking the potential customer and hassling them every other day. So I think you just got to read the cues, and you have to be patient, but at the same time, stay determined.
Yeah, I mean, rejection's just a part of the business, and again, since these are long-standing relationships, you're going to get another opportunity, and that's kind of the difficulty when you're dealing with, being a salesperson, which is, your competitors are also good salespeople, also have products and services that bring value to them and potentially have a better relationship, which is something that you need to overcome. So, it's going to be a myriad of those things that I would say that would benefit. But, it's just one of those things. You're going to take L's, it's just a normal part of the business. You just got to stay competitive and continue to work, on selling those customers. And you know what, and a lot of times if you've got a great relationship, they'll tell you exactly why you didn't win that RFQ or that bid or their business. It could be customer service, could be something that you have absolutely zero control over. Because you're representing a company. So it could be, customer service, it could be product quality. These are all things that you need to internalize, take back to your company, and then try to work through. But again, it's just a part of the business. So it gets hard when you start, but it'll get easier as you go along.
There's a question that keeps popping up about a few times, and it just did again, making sure that we saw it. It looks like, many of us, I think all three of us talked about starting out in sales, but, having the opportunity to maybe move other directions and what kind of motivated us to do that. And again, I'm going to go back to just, I think starting out in sales, and I'm sure Zach's experienced this and Adeline's experiencing it for sure right now. You just get exposure to so many other departments, because when you're in sales, you just inherently, when you're working for your customer on your customer's behalf, you're problem solving and you're involved. And it probably was, just a few years in where, I realized, geez, I really may want to run a business one day. I'd love to be a general manager or a president or even more at some point if given the opportunity. And I think sales certainly prepared me for that. But ultimately, how did I end up getting that level? I knew business was where I wanted to be, and eventually pursued an MBA. But while pursuing that MBA, I was very open to other opportunities. And it can be scary at times to move out of sales and go into operations or move into general management. But it was definitely worth it to me. But again, I don't see myself in the opportunity I'm in today, or having these opportunities, if it wasn't for my experience in sales initially. I feel very strongly about that, in fact.
Yeah, and I'll back that up too. Sales, again, is, for me, I've been in it most of my career. I've done a couple marketing roles, but I just love the lifestyle that it allows me to live. And as I move up more into management, looking to do what Jeff is doing and supporting a P&L, the sales as a whole has just allowed me to live just a great lifestyle. I don't have to be behind a computer all day. If I want to blow off on a Friday, if I've had a long week and go play some golf or just get out, I can do that. So there's not a lot of roles that allow you to do that on a Friday. There's also a lot of roles that mandate you go to an office. I work remotely. So, and I've done that my entire career. I've had 2 roles where I've actually had to report to an office, but I decided that in my life and what I want to do, that's not something that I'm willing to do right now, which allows me to kind of live that more freely. But, when you get bound to an office, you're generally bound to which region that they need you to live in or where that office is. So, but again, I'm not married. I'm engaged. I don't have kids. So, as I kind of progress more into my career, I'll most likely take an office job so I can be a little bit home, a little bit more home, as well as have a little bit more stability. A lot of my travels overnight. I'm usually gone, half the week. So, that's kind of been my career.
I've definitely had the flexibility to golf.
I think at the end of the question, it was at what event made you feel like you were ready for something else? I think you just know. You just got to trust your gut. You'll feel it and go for whatever you want, your passion or you like or you're interested in getting to learn more about. Would be my
that's good
answer
advice,
to that one.
Adeline. And I think one important thing I think to share with those on the phone, getting ready to graduate, thinking about these opportunities, it gets real easy to start thinking too far ahead. And, what job do I want next year? And then what job does that lead me to in 3? And one piece of advice I want to give you is master the job that you're in. Learn everything about it. Try to master that job. And you're going to get exposed to other areas of the business. And Adeline's exactly right. You're going to know when you feel like you could be passionate about something else. And I just urge you, when you're there, speak up and take a leap of faith if you get that opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I mean, you'll know. I mean, for me, I pivoted out and I pivoted right back in. I left and did product management, global product management for almost 2 years. But it was a job that was behind a desk. It was P&L support. So I managed the whole product line for us. And it just wasn't something that I loved, and I knew that I loved sales. So I did pivot right back in when I got the opportunity. Like I said, you'll know when you know. Just keep working at it. It's always good to have a plan, but as Jeff said, your plans will always change. Things will always change. Your life will always change. You might meet somebody and move to Denver. Who knows?
I was teasing you about the golf, I wanted to elaborate on that a bit. I mean, I think it's great that, and you're right, sales does provide some flexibility, and you do get the opportunity to entertain and do some fun things. And again, if I was to give some more advice, and I might continue, I'm the oldest on the panel, by the way, so I get to. We need that in all of our jobs. I think I have learned that over this last year. It's easy to get absorbed in work and feel like you need to be there at 6 in the morning and there till 5 o'clock at night. But the fact is, you do have to have some flexibility to have some fun and some free time. And, that's something that I think as we look at transitioning back into the office, we're going to be a little bit more thoughtful about providing those flexible work hours and the ability to get out and do other things when they need to. People can be productive. We have more access to technology than ever before. So it's easy to stay plugged in, even when you're not sitting behind your computer at the office, I should say.
I saw there was a question on research and analytics and how they play into your sales experience. So I leverage research and data almost every day. We leverage a lot of that in the work that we do, just simply around the data for the vehicles that we're running and how customers look at that data and make that data actionable. So, it's a lot of the customers that we have, it's very, like I said, it's a relationship, it's a partnership. So we do leverage data every day to help support in our sales cycles, to help support in their businesses. And it's the reason why they inevitably make their decision. So, but again, that's just a part of our business. Some businesses are very different, but around what we do, the purchasers that we work with are really know their business up and down. So it could be the fuel economy, it could be how the trucks operate, it could be downtime. I mean, there is just a ton of data that goes into the procurement side of the business, which we have to match that and sell to it. So again, it's very useful, and I would recommend, if you get the opportunity to leverage data and work on how can you leverage pivot tables and Excel and all that good stuff. Data is going to be a big part of sales, and data continues to be a big part of everything that we do. So.
Yeah, on the research and analytics, that's pretty much what I do day to day with my salespeople. So I'm in charge of the East grocery channel of 4 customers. And we basically research, what price points are, the hot spot, or like where people are more prone to buy. We'll run a promotion, and then we'll analyze it after the promotion ran, and just see how it performed. We'll compare it to our competitors. So, that's a big part of the business. And I'm always doing this, with my sales partner, with my sales, manager.
Great points by both of you. I can tell you that we have an analytics department that we put in place at Worthington, roughly 5 years ago. A lot of analysts within the business. But Adeline, your point on it's just, you're trying to be as fact-based as possible, and we're making investments in capacity, equipment, what products we want to launch. And I think, voice of customer and gathering the analytics there, willingness to pay, those are all critical components that you need to think through before you're ready to move on with a product launch. So definitely has been critical. I see it even being more critical moving forward.
Yeah, and no 2 customers are the same. So there's different price points within all of our customers and our grocery channels. So it's critical for us to analyze and research each one and understand their market.
Would you all like to share some of the most exciting and most not exciting experiences, some specific things, if you don't mind, maybe students can see that everybody faces a different situation, different things in their career.
Yeah, I guess I'll give most exciting. I might give a most exciting something in sales, if it's okay, and least exciting something that wasn't in sales. Probably, throughout my career, probably the most exciting, and I think Zach will appreciate this, is when I was a territory manager, outside sales, living in the state of Iowa. I and our team landed the John Deere account, which is still one of our largest accounts today. It was an account we had been trying for decades to get into, and that took our team 2 years. And ultimately, I'll go somewhere with this, I promise. It wasn't as easy as us just getting in and providing a solution that our competitor was already providing. We were able to come in and completely change the supply chain. We were able to have John Deere take out equipment, which was a huge working capital save. But that took us, again, 2 years to build the trust and the relationship to come up with that proposal. But that was certainly something very exciting to me. And again, they're a very great customer today. And then, I think as I moved on from sales and something that might not be one of my most favorite, experiences was having to walk into a facility, a factory of a couple hundred people, to let them know that we no longer had enough business to continue operating in that area. And unfortunately, as hard as we would try to source new opportunities for them, it just wasn't going to be possible. Those are tough and brutal conversations to have. Fortunately, we're doing well now, and we're going to be adding facilities and growing, and I don't want to have any more of those discussions.
I think I was thinking of the challenging, not only exciting, but the challenging situations that you faced. I didn't say it properly, probably.
Yeah, I can start off with a super challenging one. I mean, COVID-19 has been wildly challenging, and not in the ways that most would think. It's as you work in sales and you travel and you visit customers, what you don't realize is some of the challenges that those folks are dealing with. So my boss, for example, has 4 kids and they weren't going to school. So he was having to not only manage, a team of salespeople, but also have to manage teaching his kids, or working with his kids at home, on top of just the general challenges that have come with COVID in regards to our business and the supply chains that have been so disrupted because of it. So that has been, I think, overall the most challenging thing that I've had to work through, which is dealing with people personally, that have challenges and things at home that they're dealing with that you just wouldn't run into every day, on top of some of the supply chain challenges. And, Jeff had mentioned it, a lot of companies had layoffs, especially like this summer. So, I had to see a lot of my colleagues go in the July timeframe, as we did have a pretty large round of layoffs. So those are probably some of the most challenging things that you've had to work through. But it's the cyclicality of business, which is going to be, there's going to be ebbs and flows. Businesses are going to grow or contract. So, it's just a natural churn in business. So, we just have to deal with it. I just haven't dealt with much like that, and hopefully not having to deal with much of COVID, hopefully after, the vaccines get through and we reopen. So, for me, one of the greatest things has just been landing a large account. For example, PepsiCo, I was doing a Six Sigma project a couple years ago for PepsiCo. Have leveraged a lot of data, worked through one of our suppliers, and we ended up landing a good portion of their parts account, which took a lot of time and effort. But again, it's that growing relationships and continuing to push on it. And again, big businesses like that are always looking for partners. So, for me, that was probably the most successful that I've had was the PepsiCo account. And that's been a relationship that I've grown for 10 years at various companies, mind you. I've worked for 4 different major companies that have all been suppliers to Pepsi, and I've been able to carry over those relationships year after year. Still the same buyers, still the same folks that are working around the same. Some of them have moved well up into management. So, but again, great longstanding relationships, and it's good to be a part of a commercial team that sells to large customers like that, where you can leverage those relationships forever.
Now you need Adeline to get on the ball and get you into Gatorade.
It's the same truck that moves all of our stuff. But yeah, I mean, I have the same as Zach, low and, greatest or highlight. My highlight is the relationships that I've made with some of my salespeople. Definitely friendships, like Jeff had mentioned. And my biggest challenge has been COVID, the supply constraints and the pricing and all of that that's been around COVID has been a nightmare. But hopefully it's over sometime soon.
Before the last question, the sales, Jeff and Zach, in my sales class, I'm using the Challenger Sales Book as a reading book. They do presentation. I don't know if you have seen that, the book, The Challenger Sales. It's very, very good book that one of the students recommended. The former student started in the sales area. He played football as well, but he graduated about 5 years ago, and he was dating my neighbor's daughter. She was a student as well. He said, Professor Pinar, we are using this book, and I recommend you. And I think that was I will highly recommend the Challenger Sales. It's a little old to have a new edition type, but it is a very, very good book. And then a couple of students got a sales job, and then offer and they get a package from the company. They opened up the books. One of them was a Challenger Sales book. So Professor Pinar, they're asking me to read the book. I already read it, And one student sent me an email, said she got the job out of 20 people because she mentioned that she read the Challenger book and mentioned a few things from that. So it's kind of a nice book that I like to mention. I don't know if you have seen that. But they are asking about future suggestions, career things, and since we are getting about 10 minutes to go, we'd like to hear your recommendations and things that students can take away.
One of my recommendations for, preparing for the world of work would definitely be open-minded and willing to learn. it's okay to not have all the answers. Just be willing to, put the effort in to find out.
Yeah, I'll probably back on that a little bit. I would say absolutely, especially if you want to find a role in sales, be open. And I would say be open to relocating, be open to moving around, to trying new challenges, to be out of your comfort zone. Because you're going to inevitably be out of your comfort zone, especially trying to learn, a new skill, know what it's like to be dealing with customers, and then find a good a mentor to have along the way. I've been blessed in my career to have people that have really helped me in my company, out of my company, professionals that have really kind of helped support in that. So I would say, definitely get out of your comfort zone. If you're looking for good employment, be open to moving all over the country. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be forever. It could be a year, it could be 2 years. But I know a lot of people that have decided to not look for certain opportunities that they might have really enjoyed because they were unwilling to leave a state or an area, to get their career started. So I would say, definitely, shoot for the moon. So.
All good answers. Open-minded, be ready to collaborate, be ready to share opinions, be ready to listen to other opinions. And I'm going to go back to, do not get too far ahead of yourselves. I see so many young and eager and smart folks come out of the college and join the workforce, and a couple months in, they're already asking their manager, what's next? And again, stay focused, master your job, learn as much as you possibly can, talk to the veterans, learn the products. And if you're performing, people will find you. They'll see you. Good managers they'll tap you on your shoulder. And you talked about, when will I know I'm ready? You'll feel it, but somebody else more than likely will. You'll have a mentor or somebody that's going to see that you're ready to move on, and they're going to help you do that. So just urge you to be patient. And then, as you prepare for the workforce, or even when you're in the workforce, just always continue to try to learn and take yourself out of your comfort zone. And one thing I always highly recommend to anybody is reading. I mean, it's just like practicing. If you want to play piano, or if you're a basketball player, if you want to be a good salesperson, or you aspire for that career, read some sales books. If it's really leadership that excites you, then read a lot of leadership books and pay attention to what people are doing really well. And just as important, if you run across a situation where you think someone didn't handle it really well, file that in your bank as well, because that can be just as helpful. But that's some advice I would give.
I guess we're about getting the end. Kind of last round of suggestions, recommendations that students can take away. But I mean, three of you mentioned learning. I saw somewhere people cannot earn more than what they learn. I mean, cannot earn more than what they learn. I mean, the learning is a key indicator of their earning power. There are exceptions, of course, but these are shortcuts will get you in trouble. And I also saw somewhere that the learning should be equal to or more than a change happening around you. So all of you, three of you indicated learning. And then the last thing that they may want to take away from your presentations, your experience.
Yeah, I would say, sales has a lot of opportunities. I mean, you can be a hunter, a sales professional, just straight sales. You can be an account manager, which could be more farming. There's a lot of opportunities that you could have going into a sales type role. And to be quite honest with you, they're very rewarding. Just like in a lot of professions, if you're a top performer, you're going to do quite well, and companies find value in it. You have to be good. You got to think on your feet. Jeff hit the nail on the head. I mean, you've got to be very well-rounded in order to do any type of role at a high level, and sales is just one of them. So, as long as you're continuing to want to learn, and if you're interested in sales, it's a great profession. It's something I'm just so fortunate to have had done right out of college, and decided that, had found what my niche was right out of college, which was, working in marketing and sales. I might take some other roles here and there, as I progress through my career, but, sales is where I enjoy it. And I hope to run a very large sales team at some point in my career. And those are my goals and aspirations, because I want to manage people that were like me, which were driven, hardworking, and enjoy being in front of the customer.
Yeah, if I'm thinking specific to sales, I guess some last words. Again, Zach mentioned this earlier, and certainly there is something to be said for being a professional salesman. And there's certain, you're going to learn a lot in classes and learn how to build the trust and approach customers and present. But I think equally important to be a very successful salesperson, again, I'll go back to really get in and learn your operations, really understand quality and what they do. Spend time with folks like Adeline that are behind the pricing and the analytics. Understand what makes an item profitable and what does not. Those are crucial and I think critical to separating yourselves from others.
And any recommendation from your background, your field, your area of work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what Jeff said and what I said earlier, just being open-minded and not rushing to the next role, just try to master your role, or really get everything you can out of it before taking off, because you can really be creative once you understand it and implement efficiencies. And that's really beneficial, and that's where, people will notice you. So take your time, crawl before you run.
Well, really, I'd like to thank you, three of you, and I learned a lot. I'm sure our students will benefit this recorded. And I always remember Zach sending me email from Germany, Professor, we're traveling. I cannot send my assignment. Can I send it later? I said, sure, Zach, have fun in Germany, in Europe. And I think that was, I always remember, but I now connect the name and emails that I'm glad that I got to talk to you. And I'm really happy that you are doing well. And all of you as well. So Jeff was before my time at Valpo. Adeline, we didn't have you, but you can always come here to talk to us, our students. I'd like to thank all three of you. That was very beneficial. And I learned, especially from our sales class, but every class. And I really appreciate and thank you for your time and effort that you share your experience with our students.
Well, thank you as well. I think this
you.
is great that Valparaiso is doing this. Just a great format. I learned a lot as well. Zach, Adeline, great to meet you. And it's very clear why you two are so successful in your job. So it was a pleasure being on the panel with both of you.
Likewise.
From the Career Center, thank you very much to all of you. Musa, thank you for moderating. We really appreciate it. We know you're busy and have other things going on. Students, keep in mind that we have more panels coming up this month. Check Instagram at Valpo Careers to see all the details. And thank you again, everyone. Have a great evening. Let us know how we can help you.